Boom. Guess what? We're back. It's the latest edition of the StatrCast. As you can see, there's only two of us on this evening. Gary is off and away and busy, and Jimmy is working on getting the app sorted so y'all can be playing it sooner rather than later. So more on that another time. Dean, nice to see you. How are we getting on, my friend?
Good, very good after Monday night. Another 3 points for United and Michael Carrick. Carrick's at the wheel.
You sound so positive for a fellow whose team is actually flying in at the moment. What's it, 16 from 18 points since he's been in or something like that?
Yeah, since January, actually, I know I hate these kind of fucking stats as well, but since January, we are actually have the most points in the league, with Arsenal behind us with two. So, I mean, considering what we were saying, the league's in kind of two halves. It's like before Christmas and after Christmas. And before Christmas, we had Amrin, and now after Christmas, we have Carrick. And, if we've accumulated most points, I think we've second most goals since Christmas.
Hmm.
I know that you've got the more, you've the Gary Neville's and the Jamie Carragher's of the world saying, you need more an established world class manager and all this kind of stuff, like to really push them on to win the Premier League. But I mean, it's
It's
kind
a
of hard
complicated one.
to.
I think we'll talk
It's
about that in a bit detail when we get to the weekend's matches because
mm,
it's definitely a fascinating one to look at, and I
mm,
have a kind of a mixed bag approach in terms of what the next move is there. But I think we'll get into that when we talk about the weekend matchup. So today I wanted to do. Obviously, this season has been labelled. A couple of teams have been labelled set piece FC. We've seen a massive, massive increase on wrestling in the boxes. You could even attest to a Monday night with the tactics in the goal mouth
yeah.
that have seemed to massively increase. So what I've gone and done is I've gone and I'm going to put it together in an article on the site because I think it's a too meaty of a topic to not. I think it definitely warrants an athletic style article where because fuck me, Dean, I did. You saw the tables I sent in. I did a deep dive. So what I wanted to look
Mm,
at was goals scored from open play, set pieces, and I have some like stats, facts, and little bits and tidbits that might help. And then just off of that, I want to look at some of the set piece takers for each team because there's actually, oddly enough, a couple of little sleepers when you look into the numbers of
mhm.
goals by set pieces. So there's definitely one or two little sneaky ones that you want to have a look at if you catch my drift. Do we start with the obvious and talk about that team that team that has turned football into an NFL style game? Mikel Arteta's Arsenal.
Yeah. Yeah. Like you were saying, first was throw-ins, now it's corners. Yeah, they really like their set pieces. Just kind of says a lot about their ability. But we said before about their ability, and creativity and actually scoring from open play. They're missing that X factor person up front, so they kind of rely on the, would you call them, dirty tactics, overloading the keeper. Getting trying to get 5 year players on the goal line to kind of put
I would
pressure on the
I would
keeper.
call it prime Tony Pulis tactics. It's what Stoke did in their heyday with Peter Crouch up top alongside who was the other big bollocks then. But anyway, like the era of the Liam Delap throw-in, and we've really gone back to it so much so that the Liam Delap throw-in is not called the Liam Delap throw-in anymore. It's just a long throw, which is
Mhm.
even in this space of a season, it was like this is Liam Delap esque to it's just a long throw now. But here's
Yeah.
an interesting one, right? Which team has scored the lowest amount of set pieces this season, excluding penalties? So I've done this with pens and without pens.
I'm just gonna go at the bottom of the fucking table. Wolves.
It is fun, and you
Yeah.
know what? I'll give you the bottom. I'll give you the bottom grouping because it's actually fascinating. Wolves are at the bottom with five, and then you have Forest, Brentford, and City with six, and then it's
Forest, Brentford, and City. Wow, it's interesting seeing the
City
City.
are
City.
extreme. If City
Which
layer set pieces into their game, and I'll get into the detail on that number in a second,
mm.
but if City layer this set piece approach into their game, we're all fucked because
Yeah.
they're in a league where if you go from the halfway point down, so it's Brighton, Burnley, West Ham, Everton, Sunderland all on six, Brentford, City, Forest are they're all on seven. Man City, Brentford, Forest are on six. Wolves have five, and then above that is like Palace, Fulham, Liverpool on nine apiece, and Arsenal are way out on top at 17 goals, excluding set
Wow.
pieces, excluding penalties from set pieces, with
Mm.
Newcastle. the next closest behind them on 14. So Arsenal have scored 3 more goals from set pieces than their nearest rival. And then there's a
So it's like
bunch of
about one
teams.
in three. 1 in 3 of the goals, more or less, is coming from set piece.
Yep.
And I
Yep.
mean, yeah.
And even then, if you really wanted to take it to like second phase, like where the ball drops
Mm-hmm.
and then someone finishes, so it's not directly from a set piece, the numbers dramatically increase even further.
Yeah.
Um, but
Actually,
if
I can see there you put in, they've scored 3 penalties and 4 own goals. So take those 7 away, that brings it down to 49 goals for Arsenal this season. And yeah, it's kind of a
yeah,
lot more heavily reliant on
like
set
the next
pieces.
batch
Yeah.
of teams then is Manchester United, Spurs, and Leeds with 13 apiece. So Arsenal 5 clear in all of those.
Mm-hmm.
But when I actually broke it down, so I'm going to give you some percentages, right? So Manchester City scored the lowest percentage of goals from set pieces. There was actually a couple of really fascinating stats when I was going through this. So penalties have kind of stayed static. They account for about 8% of all Premier League goals season over season. But goals from set pieces, full stop, have gone from 28% so last season to over 34% so far this season. So we've increased. What's that? What's the number there? It's like a 20% increase year on year in terms of something like that. So last year there was 1,091 goals scored for the full season. This season so far we're on 747. This season that means 190 have been scored from set pieces, excluding penalties this season. So 25% of all goals this season are goals from set pieces that are not penalty related, and
Mm-hmm.
34% when you include penalties. And that's up from 20 and 28% last year. So, yeah, we've gone from a fifth to a quarter of all goals being scored from non penalty set pieces in a season. What do you think of that, Dean?
It's interesting, but it's also interesting that, like you said, Arsenal are on top of 17, but then you have Newcastle, and they're in what, seventh place or something like that. You have United, who are in fourth,
Mm-hmm.
Spurs, who are, Spurs in the relegation battle, leads way down. So I know that we slag Arsenal a lot and say, oh, set piece merchants would be a top league of set pieces, but I mean, they wouldn't be because, like you said, they're missing that X factor up front. But it doesn't seem to be the kind of difference maker either. If you have other teams who are so far down the table in that top 5 who are
Mm-hmm.
scoring set pieces, so and then like you said, we have City who are way down and fourth from the bottom, but actually tied second last 6. And they're up Arsenal's
Yeah.
arse at the moment
What
in
I've kind of
second
done
place.
with this
So
And what I've kind of done with this data pool was I wanted to look at volume first, then I
mhm,
wanted to look at percentage. Because if we're being honest here, like you'd expect a team like Burnley, a team like Leeds, a team like Sunderland to score a higher percentage of their goals from set pieces. And that's
mhm,
purely tactical, that they're going to see less of the ball, that they're not going to create as many chances, that they probably haven't got the same quality. So they're relying on quality dead balls and quality set pieces. So when we looked at volume, as I said, Arsenal 3 out on top from Newcastle, and then 5 away from the next nearest competitors in Manchester United, Spurs, Leeds, and then
mhm.
everybody else is in single digits then thereafter. But where it got really interesting for me was percentiles. So if you're looking at sleepers, if you're looking at picks, can you tell me 3 teams who have the highest percentage of goals from set pieces, non-penalty related? At a guess.
Non top 3, you said.
Top 3 teams for goals percentage of their goals that come from set pieces.
Okay, so we just established there that Arsenal is about almost a third. So I would say Arsenal. I would say, considering how few goals Leeds probably have scored and they're so high up in the table, I'd say they got to be up there. Leeds have to surely
See,
up
this
there.
is where
And
this metric gets interesting. Arsenal aren't in the top 3 when you
oh
exclude
well,
penalties. They have 30% of their 30.4% of their overall goals this season have been set pieces, non penalties.
mm-hmm.
35% when you include pens. But in terms
Mm,
of teams' percentage, it's Newcastle number one. 37%
yeah,
of all their goals have been scored via set plays. So they have scored 38 goals total. So we're looking at just shy of 40%,
mm-hmm.
so 36% there. Second up is Spurs and Leeds equally, and
Mm-hmm.
35% of their 37 goals scored by set plays. And then after that, it was who was next up on that list for me? It actually was Arsenal. I apologize. It was Arsenal
Was
next.
Arsenal, was it?
So yeah, first Newcastle,
30.
second joint is Spurs, Tottenham, and third is Arsenal.
Oh no,
That's
it's
not.
Palace, is it? 31 or
Oh,
something?
sorry. Yeah, it is Palace. I apologize. Yes,
Yeah,
Palace.
yeah.
And then non-penalty related, it gets even when you include penalties, it gets even wilder. Newcastle, 50% of all their goals have been scored by set pieces, including penalties. Leeds, 46% of all their goals
Oh,
have been
stop.
scored by set pieces, including penalties. Palace, 48%. Chelsea, 40%. And then you have City so far down. And this is where it gets mental for me. Like, the two bottom teams are Brighton on 20% and Man City on 10%.
Well, I mean, it
Ten.
just goes to show, like, well, I mean, Brighton can't fucking win a game to save their lives, like, so. But, like, it just goes to show the sheer quality of that City team. You know, they're scored so few goals from set pieces and just so many from open play, which, I mean, like you said there, you know, some of the top teams in the league, like, so many of them are coming from set pieces and penalties, and like City just play their own brand of football, like, don't they? Compared
Yeah.
to, it just seems to be compared to the rest of the league. You know, the rest of the league is dependent on Joe corners, throw-ins, all that, and City are like, no, we're still gonna just hit the true ball to Haaland and let him run 35 yards with it and put it in the back of the net.
And this is the thing, like last year, the trend seemed to be in around 20%, as I said, and it's gone up to 25% of all goals scored are by a set piece, not including penalties. So just to differentiate that, because Chelsea skew those numbers massively when you include penalties, because they get a scandalous amount of penalties for some reason. Chelsea's goes from 25% from set pieces, which is on the nose with the league average for this season. But when you include penalties, it's 40 fucking percent of all of Chelsea's goals come from, like, that's a scandalous amount of penalties, by the way. But do you know what that screams? Whoever's the Chelsea set piece taker for pens, aka Cole Palmer, get him.
Yeah. Sorry, he scored. I mean, he scored two. Did he score two penalties in the past 3 weeks or so? There, about 3 weeks ago, he had two in one game.
Yeah, they
Something
had
like
two scandalous penalties in weeks back to back. But like,
that.
the league average, as I said, is 25%, and there's only a handful of teams that are under that, and they're West Ham, they're Brentford, they're Brighton, they're Man City, who were, and Brentford, we all would have said they're a set piece team. They're a set piece team. They're a set piece team. Turns out they're not, according to the data.
So, like, what I'm kind of taking out from this is that, you know, you look at, you know, your Cole Palmers, you're looking at your Sakas, you're looking at your Brunos and all that. These are players, regardless of when we look at these percentages that you're doing, that are going to get picked up anyway in the first 1, 2, 3 rounds. So, what people should be looking at from this data is like the Brentford, the Aston Villa, the Leeds, even maybe the Spurs, you know, like the teams who are low down in the table and people don't pick their players because, you know, they're just not competing.
Yeah.
But
Like the
they're
ones
set
that are
players.
standing out to me are, so everybody's going to pick up Bruno because he takes all the set pieces at Manchester United. Arsenal, everybody's going to pick up Declan Rice because he takes all the set pieces at Arsenal. If you're looking outside of those, you don't want a Brighton set piece taker, the quality ain't there. You don't
Yeah.
actually want the Brentford set piece taker, the quality ain't there or the volume ain't
Mhm.
there. But if you have a decision to make, we'll say between a Bournemouth player and a Brentford player, pick the Bournemouth fella that takes the set pieces. Do you know what I mean?
Mhm.
So, like, who's taking the set pieces at Bournemouth? In terms of free kicks, it's Tavernier, it's Brooks, it's Scott. If it's corners, it's Tavernier, it's Adley, it's Scott. Do you know what I mean? And Adley, oddly enough, is a little sleeper cell pick at the moment. Since the turn of the year, his form has really, really shot up. Obviously, I think that has to do with obviously Semenyo going. He's taken that left-sided berth from them, and he takes corners and indirect free kicks. So he's going to pick you up a couple of little points here and there, additionally, just from volume of set pieces. Crystal Palace, again, another one to look at. Aston Villa, another one to look at. So that's Morgan Rogers. That's was John McGinn before his injury. It's definitely an interesting area to look at
Yeah.
because
Like even looking at like Leeds, like, you know, I'm just looking at their set pieces goals this season. They've scored 12 from corners and free kicks, 3 from penalties. So you want to be looking at like their corner who are taking their corners there, like Anton Stash, I think Bijol as well takes them, and then penalties. I mean, he had 3 penalties this season. You're not going to be putting too much time and effort into it. But if you're, on the 7th or 8th round and things, if the slim pickings there, like, you have Calvert Lewin there who takes penalties. So like these are kind of like gems that you want to pick up that you're probably not really thinking about when, you know,
Well, like the
you're
next
starting
best
to spread
penalty
your bar.
taker, and again, these are where when you actually break down these numbers. So if you're looking at a centre forward, for example,
Mm-hmm.
and you're low down the picking order, or if you're over in FPL land over across the way, and you're between two centre forwards, and you're like, let's say Evan Nielsen, and you're looking at who will compete against Evan Nielsen, go pick up Jimenez. Go pick up Jimenez. He's after setting a record last week for most consecutive penalties scored in the Premier League at 13 now. So Cole Palmer got to 12 and then missed. His first one last season, he scored 18 of his 45 goals total in the Premier League through penalties. So 45% of all Cole Palmer's goals in the Prem have come from the spot. But if you can't get Cole Palmer as your penalty taker, get Jimenez. If he gets a penalty, they score. He's got 3 penalties this season, and the penalty numbers are outrageous. I know
Yeah.
I'm diverting here. So Chelsea have scored 7 penalties this year. After them, Brentford 6. After them, Newcastle 5. After them, Palace 5. After that, Leeds 4. Everybody else is on 2s and 3s. So
Mm-hmm.
Chelsea 7 penalties. Cole
Yeah.
Palmer, Cole Palmer, Cole Palmer. If Cole Palmer's not on the pitch, Joe Pedro, Joe Pedro, Joe Pedro, Joe Pedro.
Yeah.
It's wild. This was a really fascinating deep dive for me because it's definitely framing some little picks that I'm going to be looking at over the next few weeks. Do you know that kind of way?
Yeah. Yeah. And like you have like Newcastle there as well. Then they've scored like 5 penalties. I think Woltemade takes their penalties at there as well. He's another one as well. I think he's had a couple of penalties in the past couple of weeks, so those stats wouldn't have looked as nice like a month ago. But we talked about how sometimes he can be a bit unreliable. But like you were saying, there in the coming weeks now, we're going to have a lot of teams who are looking at fighting relegation, and there are a few teams fighting relegation when they're like kind of like looking for 3 points and they're drawn or they might be 1-0 down and there's 20 minutes to go, teams might be getting very scrappy on the pitch and they might give away an out penalty or something like that. So maybe keep an eye out to see like who the likes of Newcastle are going against, or Chelsea, or your Arsenal's, if there are any penalty takers there, or Leeds, if there are any penalty takers there that might be free and that you might be able to pick up.
But it's even again, and this is 100% true, and it's the same from open play when you break it down from open play. So like Man City, they've scored 56 goals, 44 from open play, 3 on goals, 3 penalties, 6 from set pieces. It's Haaland, it's Semenyo, that's fair. But in terms of if you're looking for outright, goal, where the goals are going to come from, you want City's front line. In terms
Yeah.
of, as I said, Arsenal and City have scored the same amount of goals, but their open play goals are different by 14 goals. Chelsea are in that mix. Manchester United, 31 goals from open play of their 48. So they're actually a nice blend. The Chelsea and Manchester United are in around the Premier League average in that 20 to 25% mark. But like, it's just definitely fascinating because I would automatically look at this and go, right, goals total versus set piece goals, and go,
Uh-huh.
I probably don't want Sunderland attackers. I probably don't want, Chelsea attackers outside of João Pedro and Cole Palmer. I probably don't want Gyökeres, Saka, Martinelli, Eze, Odegaard from Arsenal because they're not picking up the points. If you're looking at it's just a fascinating way to look at it because when I did this, the numbers, it's outrageous to think that penalties have remained static, but the percentage of goals from set pieces has shot up from 20 to
Yeah.
25% in a season, which is the single biggest increase year on year. Single biggest increase. Now, not that this hasn't fluctuated before, obviously it does, but to go from a fifth to a quarter of your goals being scored through set pieces shows again this major difference in how Premier League teams are playing, and it matches the eye test as well because like we've all been watching. Do you know what I mean? We've all been watching,
Yeah.
and the season peaked at 31% of all goals being scored from
Mm-hmm.
non-penalty set pieces. So there was a period there in November where 31% of all goals scored were from a set piece. And and we're actually on track to beat the highest ever year. So 16-17 was the highest ever year for goals scored from set pieces, which was 24%. That was the year 16-17.
Yeah.
We're on track to bypass that by what, 10% when you take in pens, because that
Mhm.
number is including pens. So in 16-17, 24% of all goals scored in the Premier League were a set piece of some capacity. And we're on track right now for 33%.
Yeah, seems that some teams have kind of found a bit of a diamond in the rough in terms of just ways of getting the ball in the back of the net when they're just lacking that quality up front. They're just like accepting, okay, we don't have the creativity to just score from open play, so let's just try and overload the box and just get balls in. It doesn't. At the start of the season, I actually didn't mind the long throw-ins. I thought, the game was kind of evolving a bit. It was,
Mm.
it's a nice change. But now, as the season's gone on, it's just happening in every match. And like we were saying, fucking Everton were doing it all over United on Monday. It's gotten a bit old now. It has gotten a little bit old. But if Arsenal do end up winning the season using this technique, winning the league, it's kind of hard to, and if the likes of Leeds end up staying up by using this technique, it would be kind of hard to see teams who are coming up next season say, all right, lads, we need to get a throw-in coach and we need to get a corner coach immediately because this is how we're going to stay up.
You know who
We
the
don't want the
first team
quality
in
to
the
go through
Premier
the middle.
League was to have a throwing coach?
Was it, go on? It was only recent,
Liverpool.
was it?
Liverpool
Liverpool.
under Klopp had a throwing coach, and do you know where he went after that? He went from there to Brentford, uh, and worked alongside Keith Andrews, where
Mm.
last season Brentford were the outlier in terms of long throw-ins and corner dynamics, which is essentially what actually got Keith Andrews the job at Brentford this
Mm.
year. Which is even more crazy when you see the massive drop off in their goals from set plays, and it was a big part of the reason why Thomas Frank got the job at Spurs was the versatility in terms of attacking outlay that they had. But yeah, the first team in the Premier League to have a set piece coach or a
Mm.
dedicated throw in coach, it was Liverpool a couple of years ago. And I found it really interesting because I listened to the Ben Foster podcast, and you had Watto, the ex England goalkeeping coach, who also doubled up as a set piece coach. He was like, if I
Mm.
was in football now, I'd be making a fortune. Because every time Arsenal have a corner or a free kick, it's not Mikel Arteta that they hand the camera to, it's the set piece coach. When the fuck did the set piece coach become the fashionable thing?
Yeah, yeah.
Sometime this year. It's wild. And like, this isn't an Arsenal bash or anything like this. But like, I'm looking at it and going, how is there such a major difference between the teams in first and second, where one has nearly a third of their goals scored from set pieces and the other has a tenth? Like,
Again, it's just that quality, like, isn't it? I mean, there's just having a Haaland and a Semenyo in your team. It really is a difference maker.
yeah,
And but as well, then Arsenal finished top of the Champions League as well, so it also works in Europe. Although the standard of a lot of teams that are in the Champions League these days are,
Champions
I
League
mean,
gets
they
better
wouldn't.
at this point from this point onwards.
Yeah,
When you get
yeah.
into the knockouts, the real Champions League, I find, starts under this new format. But
Hmm.
I'm definitely looking at it and going, like volume, yeah, okay, percentage, yeah, but like, I'm looking at this from a who do I want to pick standpoint,
Hmm.
and I'm automatically going Spurs set piece takers. Turns out they're worth looking at. Whoever
Yeah.
that is, whoever that is now that they're fit, I don't know. Lead set piece takers. If you need a Leeds player in your team, or if you're down near the bottom of your,
Hmm.
if you're looking at our model and you're down near your bottom of your picks,
Hmm.
Bruno Guimaraes from Newcastle takes all their set pieces. They have a high percentage. Leeds have a high percentage, so get, like Stature, whoever's taking their set pieces there.
Yeah,
And
and that's
United have a
that's long
decent
stuff.
percentage. Bournemouth have a decent percentage. So
Mm.
I'm going to write up an article about this and go in where people can actually see all the data that we're talking about, because I know we're speaking about it here, but we're looking at it. So I think
Yeah.
maybe I'm going to put this together as an article to look at this in more depth, because there's definitely some interesting stats. Spurs and Aston Villa haven't scored a penalty this season, or haven't got one.
They haven't gotten a penalty. Jesus.
The teams that haven't scored a penalty this year: Aston Villa, Spurs. That's it.
Yeah, and then again, that's like it's kind of the same as like fucking Arsenal. Like, they're two as similar to start, but teams are just completely different top sides of the league. So I mean, like, how far are Spurs now in the fucking Premier League? I mean, they're
They're
only
four
about
points
4
clear of
points.
relegation. They're 4 points clear. They're 17th,
Bizarre,
16th,
like, it's so
16th.
bizarre.
So bizarre.
Yeah, yeah.
But
I mean, I don't think I see it happening, but these strange things have happened.
stranger things have happened. But I think that's
Mm.
enough of set piece talk. So I think
Yeah.
now that you've mentioned the shit show that is Spurs, I think it's a good time
Mm-hmm.
to look at next week's Premier League fixtures. And I suppose as we're looking at some of these, we'll look at where that particular team is at and if there's any assets worthwhile. So
Mm-hmm.
Spurs, they were they were embarrassing against
Yeah.
Arsenal last week.
Yeah. The only thing that I can give them is that they've been riddled with injuries this season and a couple of suspensions as well, which is their own fault. But I mean, Spurs shouldn't be fucking 4 points off relegation. I mean, like United were in this position as well last year, and this year, we're probably the most improved team of the entire season. Compared relative to where we were last year. But like Spurs, I mean, what the hell is going on with that team? You can blame Thomas Frank for as much of it as you want, but
I actually don't blame him a touch, to be
no.
honest. No, I don't. I think he's a very good manager. But
Hmm.
there was definitely something. So when you look at Premier League wages, so this was something that has been kind of floated around a lot lately. Spurs have they basically pay wages similar to a mid-table team. So Ange Postecoglou mentioned this on the Overlap podcast when he was on it. He's like, Spurs act like a big team,
Mm.
but they don't act like a big team. Like they talk like a
Yeah.
big team, but they don't behave like one. So in terms of salaries, they're middle of the pack in the Premier League to lower mid pack of the Premier League in terms of salaries they offer. So if you're a player and you've got a choice between Newcastle and Spurs to go to, you're going to Newcastle. If you have a choice between Spurs and Aston Villa where to go to, you're going to Aston Villa. Fulham have a better wage budget in terms of what they're willing to pay a player versus Spurs at the moment.
Hmm.
It's fucking lunacy. So you
Yeah.
layer that then with the competing pools that they're in. So transfers, while Brighton, Brentford, Bournemouth, they're looking at future prospects, guys that they could pick up in turn. What Spurs are doing is they're buying the Matthias Tells, the Colomoanis, the offshoots from bigger clubs like PSG and Bayern, and going,
Hmm.
hey, you were good enough to get through the ranks there. You're definitely good enough for us. But if
Yeah.
they were good, those teams wouldn't be getting rid of them. So they're playing
Mhm.
inflated fees for average to above average players.
Yeah,
Layer
but
that
that's
with
about, they bought Conor Gallagher and they made him their highest paid player, 200 grand a week.
ever.
Yeah, ever.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah. Crazy.
Ever. Ever. Not just their highest paid player at the moment, their highest paid
Mm.
player ever.
For a
Which
team
means
that
he
had
was
John
earning more
Son
money
and
than
Harry Kane.
Son and
Yeah,
Harry Kane.
yeah, yeah.
Which means he was
So,
earning more than Gareth Bale, earning more than Luka Modric, earning more than
mm-hmm.
Rafa van der Vaart, earning more. Name them, but like the profile of players they're buying, Colin Moani, they're buying Matthias Tell, they're buying shrapnel from big teams, and
Yeah.
if those players were that good, those teams wouldn't have been such a rush to
Mm-hmm.
sell them or to loan them with mandatory buys and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So you
And that's
layer
kind of
there,
something, yeah, like that's kind of something that United started doing for a while. We got Casemiro, we got Varane, we got Di Maria, we got Ibrahimovic. Teams who are big teams didn't want them anymore, and they were like, okay, yeah, we have no problem giving you a team out because we don't feel like you can offer anything to us anymore. And sure, look what happened with United. Now, granted, Casemiro's having a very good season. Varane
look at the
was
difference of
decent.
buying Onana versus Lamans. You're looking at a
Yeah.
third of the price tag,
Mm-hmm.
half of the wages.
Mm-hmm.
Someone that's keen to be better versus someone who thinks they're already the shit. So you've already got that mental optics of, well, I'm the shit. I was playing at Bayern, I was playing at PSG. I'm better than this Spurs level. They don't pay the
Yeah.
wages, so they're getting fellas that are essentially mercenaries. And then the third
Mm-hmm.
big problem they have is the medical department is a shit show. They have what
Yeah.
11 players currently injured. But remember Ange Postecoglou last year when he essentially had to sack off the Premier League in order to try and make them win the Europa League because he was playing Archie Gray and Lucas Bergvall, two attacking based midfielders as their centre backs.
Mm-hmm.
Because and a lot of that injury stuff last year was being pointed out Ange Postecoglou and the way he plays and high intensity football and the players couldn't maintain it. Thomas Frank didn't play that football, so why are the injury problems equally as bad, if not worse? That
Yeah.
screams mental fragility in the players that if it's not going well, oh, I'm hurt and I can sack it off. Or the medical department are so bad that they're bringing players back when they're not ready. They're breaking down and getting extended injuries. I mean, it's just so badly run. It's so badly run. best facilities in world football in terms of
I know.
stadium and training, and they act like so they're talking like they're Real Madrid and acting like they're Everton.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So who do they have? They have this week. They have
They have Fulham
Palace,
away.
Fulham. Oh, they
Fulham
do. Oh,
away.
yeah.
So Fulham at home are very good. Fulham are going to win that game.
Oh, I think so. I agree.
Well,
Yeah.
Fulham's run of
Okay.
form. Fulham have
I
been
think
on a
Jimenez could put one past them.
well,
Jimenez
Fulham have
can
been on
be
a
big.
really bad run of form. They lost. They had 3 losses in a row, and they were all by the odd goal, apart from the City game. So Everton, they lost 2-1 to because Leno made a mistake. They lost to Man United 3-2 with the Sesko goal in the last minute. They beat Brighton 2-1 before that. Lost 2-1 before that. Lost 1-0 to Leeds in the 98th minute before that. But their next games are
Mm-hmm.
Spurs. They just beat Sunderland last weekend at Sunderland. They have Spurs this week, and then they have Palace, Wolves, Burnley, or something like that in the next few games.
Mm-hmm.
And like I'm fully expecting to see their form turn, and I think Fulham are going to beat them because they're hunting for European football. Spurs are trying to stay up, but
But
it's almost
like you said, the mental fragility, it's just they're broken. Like
yeah.
and yeah.
I think they'll stay up because the 3 teams below them are worse.
Do you know West Ham? It's like West Ham could pip them. Do you know West Ham are terrible. Yeah,
Well,
I actually find it.
but let's look
We'll
at
get to
this.
West Ham,
We'll
but
get to
yeah,
this,
yeah.
but Spurs are playing Fulham. Fulham are good at home.
Mm-hmm.
Spurs are actually okay away. I would be saying the asset there is Harry Wilson. I'd be saying the asset there is Jimenez.
Mm-hmm.
I'd pick with Harry Wilson all day of the week, but Jimenez is a worthwhile option while Spurs do not have a functioning backline. But also the big
Yeah.
major issue I see with the Spurs 11 is with this new type football that seems to be being
Mm-hmm.
played this year. Their goalkeeper's very small. And the best way to score against Spurs is pack the box because he can't get through it
Yeah.
versus like Donnarumma at City. So I'd be saying it's a Fulham win. I know Jimmy
Mm-hmm.
would be having his Fulham klaxon out right now for me saying that. But this Spurs team, they feel like they're too good to go down without having the work rate to match it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think Fulham as well. And the way you say there that like or Spurs seem too big to go down, it's like, is it just the name? Is it just the stadium that makes them too big to go down? I mean, they don't really have anything else going for them. They don't have. I mean, you put someone went into the group chat there a couple of weeks ago about this new guy, Igor. What's his name?
Eager Tudor, yeah.
Tudor. I mean, he's gone like 8 months at one club, 9 at another. I think he's just had a very poor managerial career.
It's
I
not a
don't
poor
know.
managerial career. It's very much a Sam Allardyce, Sean Dyche
Hmm.
firefighter type. He comes in, but he's done this in Italian football, not in
Yeah.
English football. He's essentially like the Italian league's version of the same type of thing. Come in for a short
Hmm.
term, steady the ship, and once the ship is steady, that's when he starts falling out with everybody and either gets fired or
Hmm.
what. I think leave them the fuck alone. Spurs are in major trouble. But the flip side of that is with Spurs, when they get players back, they have Madison to come back, Kuleveski to come back, Porter to come back. That's
Yeah.
just to name a few. They will do enough to stay.
Yeah. Yeah. I think realistically it was, yeah, but it'll be 16th,
But
maybe
other
16th, 17th, 15th, 16th, 17th, I think.
other
It'll be,
relegation
yeah.
matches, other important relegation matches this week are Liverpool versus West Ham and Brighton versus Forest.
Mm.
And then if you're still
Um,
counting Leeds in that bracket, if you're still counting that Leeds in that bracket, they're at home to Man City. So it's Newcastle's or
yeah.
Nottingham Forest's best weekend to apply pressure to the teams around them, right?
Yeah. I think City, they're at their time of year now where they kind of go on their like outrageous run and just win every single game. They
Do you
beat
not remember the
Leeds.
stat that Dermot gave to us last week under Daniel Fark? Leeds haven't actually lost a nighttime kickoff at Ellen Road under him, and it's a 5:30 kickoff on Saturday at Ellen Road. So is this one where all the tanked up Leeds fans make the place a cauldron, or is City just going to be
Yeah,
just too good?
could be. I mean,
City are just going to be too good, right? They're just going to
and
pull that again.
it's either going to be, yeah, it'll either be a draw or City. I'd be like saying 66% City win, or maybe 33% draw. Um, but yeah, it depends on this.
I'll get to the City permutation actually before we look back at the relegation.
Mhm.
Sorry for jumping a bit, but Leeds play City, Arsenal play Chelsea. City play before Arsenal again. City play Saturday night. Arsenal are playing on Sunday, the late kickoff against Chelsea. I think City come out, steamroll that, get it done by half time, and then say over to you, Arsenal, when they're playing Chelsea. And that screams like a pure Chelsea type game. They shit the bed against Burnley. They shit the bed against. Chelsea haven't beaten a promoted team at home this season.
Fucking serious?
Yep.
Jesus Christ.
Chelsea haven't beaten a promoted team at home this season. But yet they've gone to like Anfield and done a job. They've gone to City and done a job. They've gone to, I could see them going to the Emirates and doing something. So like City versus Leeds, asset for me, Erling Haaland, Semenyo. Would you disagree with that?
No, yeah, I'd say Erling Haaland, Svenjo. Maybe throw Donnarumma in there if you fancy a clean sheet. But again, like you said, and a road under the lights. So
I think that's
pressure
a
might
both
get them.
teams.
You might let one.
I think it's a both teams to score type game.
Yeah. So,
But I think City are going to just have that done by half time and Leeds get a consolation. But
yeah.
Arsenal, Chelsea on Sunday. This is where the Premier League title starts to get really, really, really tight. What's the difference between them now? City have a game in hand, right?
Yeah, and there's 5 points.
5 points, and City have a game in hand. Arsenal, you could easily see dropping a point again.
So I could see it happening. I could just see the pressure. Like you said, City will win, have a one by half time. It'll be a 2 point gap, and Chelsea might just prove to be a little. Because Chelsea have a lot to play for as well. Chelsea are going for Champions League as well. Like it's not like their season's over for them either.
And they show up against the big teams.
Yeah. I could see that.
I could see that one being a draw.
And do you know what? I could nearly see as well Arsenal's home crowd almost putting pressure on them that could kind of make them kind of collapse a little bit. I can nearly see Chelsea or draw in that game. I don't know, maybe it's just my anti-Arsenal bias that's kind of steering me towards Chelsea. Obviously, I would love Chelsea to lose because they're right up ours, like in terms of Champions League qualification. Sure. But I could just see Chelsea doing one on Arsenal.
But also Manchester United play before Chelsea on Sunday against Crystal Palace at home. I think that's a tick box exercise for Manchester United. Palace aren't a team to do a low block when they're missing as many defenders as they are. Gahey's gone, Munoz is still injured, Chris Richards is out. I don't think Crystal Palace are keeping Manchester United out. You go for Bruno. I think it's actually, do you know what? Curveball type to pick up Sesko. He starts this weekend and Ahmed comes out with the team.
Do you know, I used to that last week though, and I know Sesko went down and scored, but you did say last week that exact thing would happen this week. That didn't happen. I think that Sesko could almost become this generation's Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Like he scored 3 goals off the bench in his last 4. It's kind of like, it's like if that's what you're good at, that's what you're good at, and there's nothing wrong with it. Solskjaer's an absolute United legend. He was proud of his position to be an impact sub and come on and score goals. I could nearly see Carey playing the same lineup as he did this.
He could do, but if I'm looking at assets, it's obviously Mbeumo and Bruno. If you want a wild bet there at Sesko. It's always Bruno, but Bruno and Mbeumo are definitely gone if you're playing a draft league. Sesko might be nipping around. I think he could be a differentiator pick. Even if you're playing over an FPL, he could be a differentiator pick because even if he comes off the bench, he's scoring.
Yeah.
So he's still. Yeah. This is a really mad game weekend because, as we said, Sunday is Brighton Forest, Fulham Spurs, Manchester United Palace, Arsenal Chelsea. Like, this is the period of the season where shit starts getting decided.
Yeah. So Brighton Forest.
I could see Forest winning that.
I can see Forest winning as well. Just the forward of Brighton's on, like they're just
Brighton are miserable. They're just they're misery. They're in there's something not right there. They're meh.
They won last week, didn't they? But
they did, yeah, but it wasn't convincing.
No, it wasn't. 2-0 against Brentford. Yeah, I think that might just be a bit of a flash in the pan. I just can't see them.
Forest have something to play for. I could see them getting a result out of that.
Yeah, I think so as well. They didn't they kept Liverpool to 0-0 until the 97th minute last week. I know they're having a terrible season, but if they can hold Liverpool to 0-0 I could see them doing one over on.
They were getting out of trouble under Sean Dyche. Their problem was West
Mm-hmm.
Ham started picking up form at the same time they did. So it was like
Yeah,
it was like two punch drunk fighters going slug for slug, going, "You're going down. No, you're
yeah,
going down." And they're both landing haymaker after haymaker on each other,
mm-hmm.
and neither
Yeah, yeah,
refusing to wobble. Like that's
yeah,
how the Forest West Ham fight seems to be. It's like two hammered fellas standing outside a top pizza at 3 a.m. going, "Yeah, I'll knock you out. I'll knock you out. You're going down. You're going down."
yeah.
And they both managed to hit that kamikaze drunk period at the same fucking
Mm-hmm.
fucking time. But like, I
Yeah,
think Forest are going to beat Brighton. I think Fulham are going to beat Spurs. I think Man United are going to steamroll Palace, and I think Arsenal Chelsea. I think it's going to be a shite game of football to watch, but I actually can see a draw.
Arsenal Chelsea.
Yeah, I can see
Think
that being a
so.
draw. Yeah, that
Possibly.
Chelsea
Did
team
it?
show up against the big boys. They get their red cards against your Burnleys. Gyökeres isn't going to score because even though he's on a bit of a run of form, he hasn't scored against a team that is not in the bottom six of the league this season, which is
Yeah,
everything I said in June.
yeah. Fair. So he has hit a bit of form. He scored two
Look at the
last
goals
week,
he
as we
scored
spoke
against.
then.
He scored against Leeds. He scored against Wolves. He scored against Burnley. He scored against Forest. He scored
Mm-hmm.
against Spurs. He hasn't
Yeah.
actually scored against a team that's 14th or above this season.
Mm.
But I did say at the start of the season his numbers would stack. But when you look at who they're against, there's a very big difference. So he'll score in 8 games and score his
Mm-hmm.
15 goals and do nothing for 30 games. And
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
proven to be exactly the case of what I said in summer. I
Mm.
think now you can see the point I was making then. I wouldn't be
Mm-hmm.
touching him with a bat for this game. I,
Mm.
I don't know if there's
So who's
assets.
your?
Hmm?
Yeah, I was going to say who is your asset for the game? Um.
Joe Pedro and Declan Rice. Joe Pedro's on one of his best scoring runs that he's ever been on. And Declan Rice, even if Arsenal are winning or losing, he's going to be involved. Like
Mm-hmm.
whether that's attacking points or defensive points, he's going to be involved. Chelsea, on
Mm-hmm.
the other hand, if they're to do something, it's going to be through Joe Pedro or Cole Palmer. And I think Joe Pedro is the one that's the
Yeah.
obvious form player in that matchup right now.
Mm. If I had to pick, I'd probably just go with Cole Palmer. The only reason being is that, Arsenal have one of the best defences in Europe. Chelsea might struggle to score against them. If they do, could possibly be a penalty. Cole Palmer's penalty taker. That's the only reason I'll go. Not to say that they won't break through the defences and score from open play. They very well could, but that's just the other reason I'm going with Cole Palmer. Just on the off chance he might get a penalty, and he's well capable of scoring from open play as well. So you're going with Pedro, I'm going with Cole Palmer. Neither of them are bad shots, really. And you're also saying Declan Rice from the Arsenal standpoint.
Yeah.
I'd probably agree with that. I know as they scored two at the weekend, but he's been in poor form.
Yeah, he
I
scored
don't
five
see
goals
that.
all season and they're all against Spurs.
Oh, he scored a
Yeah.
hat-trick, sorry. Yeah.
Did you not see the wild stat about Eze? From when Arsenal played Spurs the first time round to when they played them last weekend, he hadn't a shot on target in the Premier League between Spurs and Spurs. That's
That's shocking.
wild.
Yeah, that's shocking.
Wild. So, like, that's your Sunday matchups. But, like, what's
Mhm.
happening on Saturday then is you've got Leeds Man City. This is why I said I think City, knowing that they're before Arsenal, that there's no pressure on them in terms of. It's very interesting. I said this when City play first, Arsenal have more pressure. When Arsenal play first, City are still chasing irregardless. So for Arsenal, it's better if they play first on a match week, but it's City again playing first on the match week, which means they're playing Leeds. They're playing a team down near the bottom. They're just going to come out steamroll, and then it's over to you, Arsenal. So I think we've talked about
Yeah.
that. But if we were to look at the other games, there, as I said, West Ham are playing Liverpool.
Uh,
Who fucking knows?
yeah, I mean, like I said,
Fucking.
West Ham. Yeah, like let me see. Look at West Ham's one. Like draw. Was it draw? Loss, win. Is it?
Yeah.
See, you just don't know what you're going to get with Liverpool either. Liverpool are six in the table, but it's like a weird six. It's like how do you win six when they're just so unconvincing every week? Um,
Yeah, it's mad.
I,
Mad.
fuck it, I'll say
But considering like the
Liverpool,
game
but it's
against
going to
Forest
be a
last,
shit match.
they did like against Forest last week. I thought Forest actually deserved something out of that game. The week
Hmm.
before that, against was it City? The week before that, like, yeah, I think
Brighton
City.
or Yeah, Brighton the week before that, they won 3
They,
0. Week before that was Sunderland 1-0, and then they lost to City. Yeah, yeah. So
they're not
they're
convincing
very
me.
up and down. Yeah,
They're
no,
very up
I
and
mean,
down.
yeah, back in January, they lost 3-2 to Bournemouth. Like, they could go out and beat them 2-0, or they could fucking lose 3-2 with a 95th
Easily.
minute goal for West Ham. I'll go put down Liverpool or draw, I think. Um,
There's something. There's something. There's. I don't know what it is, but there's something telling me West Ham.
yeah.
There's just something there that's saying West Ham are fighting for their lives. This is the period of the season where those teams in and around the relegation spots, something to fight for, start becoming a
Mhm,
bit more dangerous.
mhm.
Liverpool are kind of. They're not going to finish third. They're not going to finish seventh. They're going to finish fifth or sixth. I
Yeah.
think they're going to focus most of their attention on Champions League. They're playing I think are they playing Champions League the following week? No, they're not. But you know what I mean. They're going to start
Mhm.
gearing their resources into Champions League football. I wouldn't be surprised if, because remember, West Ham's best player right now is their left winger, and what position do Liverpool not have at the moment is a right back. So
Mhm.
I'm going Crescencio Somerville as the asset in that game, because that channel on that right hand side of the Liverpool defence is where West Ham are strongest and they're weakest. It spells one of those ones where it's just keep getting Somerville the ball in that channel because he's probably going to be up against who and Sabaslai maybe might be the
Yeah,
right
yeah.
guy.
Yeah, Somerville, maybe Mateus Fernandez. He's having a pretty good season
Mm.
for them. Jared Bowen, I have him as captain on Statter nearly every week.
Yeah,
He does get me decent points. If he's not scoring, he might have an assist here or there. But yeah, I think that Somerville is the informed player at the moment for West Ham. Yeah, Harrison Bassam. If I had to go with Liverpool,
Liverpool is the logical one, but there's just something that says to me where Liverpool are weakest and West Ham are strongest. If they can get at that channel correctly, you're
mm,
getting Konate and Virgil van Dijk going into places they don't want to go, and that's
yeah,
where
yeah.
West Ham can. That's where West Ham can do some damage. But yeah,
Mhm.
no, I get what you said. But if you're looking at Liverpool assets, it's Szoboszlai, right? Surely,
Is he? Yeah, his suspension's over from
yeah.
the City game, right? Yeah, yeah. So Sabazai, I would say. Yeah, yeah. He's the rest are attacking players. Like they're just not consistent enough. Like Katiki, Gakpo, obviously Salah's having probably the worst season. I think he's worst ever season since he was in Chelsea jersey recently.
He's on track to score the lowest amount of goals he has scored in a career season since he was a Chelsea player.
Yeah, yeah,
Not just Premier League. His lowest goal return since he was a Chelsea player, where he
yeah.
played like 3 games in a season.
Mm. I
It's
mean, for an
fucking
individual player, that's got to be the biggest fall off from one season to another, really. Like, isn't it?
yep,
Like, I
it
mean,
is. And
maybe
that's
since like Jamie Vardy, well, after they won the Premier League and then went down the next season, or nearly went down the next season, maybe.
he was still doing
Uh,
his job though.
yeah.
He was just shite. He was still doing his part. But like,
Well,
yeah,
yeah, Salah's just playing like he just wants to earn his paycheck and
I think he's
quiet
unreal.
quitting. Quiet quitting is what they call it these days, isn't it? That's
It
what
is.
Salah's doing right now. He's just quiet quitting at Liverpool.
It seems it doesn't. I know Liverpool fans are going to be irate about it. He hasn't got a right back behind him to cover. Blah 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 blah
Yeah,
blah 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 blah. He's done fuck all, lads. Just
yeah,
let's call a
yeah.
spade a spade here. Liverpool's best attacker this year has been Ekitike.
Mhm.
Bert has been better. He still hasn't been 150 million of a midfielder. As good as he's been, and I'm
Mhm.
willing to put my hands up and go, he's been good.
Mhm.
But has he been record fee for a midfielder good?
Yeah.
The,
No.
both statements can also be true. Like, you know, I think
Yeah.
this is where
Yeah.
people don't understand like nuance or
Yeah.
context. It's like, is Worth good? Yes. Is he worth 150 million? No. Like both statements can be true. it's, and it's like
Yeah.
he doesn't
Yeah.
make the price. Yeah, I don't care if he makes the price, but it's value for money from the
Mhm.
club. He's not value for money from the club. But that's neither here nor there.
So saying Sabitzer so and Somerville are
So
the assets in it.
Sabathai and Somerville, maybe Katike if you're looking
Yeah.
at something else. Other games, Wolves, Aston Villa, pick up Morgan Rogers. Aston Villa are going having a
Yeah.
party there. Who cares? Bournemouth
Yeah.
at home to Sunderland. That's probably the most fascinating matchup of the weekend.
Schenk, Bournemouth, Sunderland. Is there anything to really
Sunderland
play for
are
there? Sunderland have relegation, I guess. Yeah. Does Bournemouth have? Bournemouth are just
neither
trying to
team
play
are. They're both like in European
always.
tension spaces.
Yeah, true. Just about Bournemouth are still there thereabouts.
They're both still
Uh,
there, thereabouts.
oh yeah, sure.
Assets.
Sunderland are only 2 points behind, and they're 5 points or 5 places down the table. But yeah,
It's tight.
Sunderland form, loss, win, loss.
Mm.
Bournemouth form, draw, win, win. Yeah, I think it has to be Bournemouth really.
I
Yeah, I
think
think Bournemouth
Sunderland's
just based
season
on
is over
form.
now. I think Sunderland are mission complete. We're staying up, and that's
Mm,
that.
yeah,
And get
yeah.
yourself a bit of Adley, get yourself a bit of Ryan.
Mm,
Ryan and Adley, the two Bournemouth wingers, are the standout performers for me. Even though I'd
mm.
say Evan Nielsen is one of my favourite strikers in the Premier League, he's just not been getting the return this year.
He
But I
hasn't.
really
No.
like him.
Yeah, I like him as well, and I probably kept him in my FPL team a bit way too long. I
Yeah,
got rid of him a couple of weeks ago because he just stopped scoring. But yeah, in terms of Bournemouth, you were saying, yeah, Ryan. I don't know. Is there anyone else you really look at? Maybe.
Ryan Adley, Croupy maybe.
Yeah, Clivert, or would you
Nah,
consider Clivert? Yeah,
no, Croupy's kind of taken his place nowadays.
mm.
I
Yeah,
think it's
yeah.
that three, but I think it's that three behind Evan Nielsen. And I think
Mm.
that's where Evan Nielsen doesn't get the love he deserves, is because it's almost like he's making runs and applying pressure so that Ryan Adley and Croupy can do their bits in
Mm-hmm.
the space that he's vacating, and that's cool. But
Yeah,
if we're going to give you points, Ryan and Adley are the two standouts for me.
okay.
Sunderland, I'm not
Yeah,
picking anyone. I think they're sliding into
yeah.
nothingness if they don't hop on. That's going to carry into next season. Burnley,
Mm.
Brentford, who cares? I think we just move on from that. Brentford are just going to do what they do and get over it, right?
Keller, I'll drop Brentford haven't getting many clean sheets this season, but I'd say Keller has put my Irish hat on
He's
and say,
making
yeah,
saves. He's
Keller.
making his saves. And then the
Yeah.
last game of the weekend that we haven't looked at is Newcastle Everton. One of the best home
Newcastle.
teams versus one of the best away teams in the league. Actually, that's a fascinating matchup.
Mm-hmm.
Newcastle are top five home teams this season. Everton are top five away teams this season.
Mm-hmm.
It's a
Uh,
fascinating matchup. Newcastle at home, though, for me, are just too
yeah.
much.
Mm-hmm. I
As
think,
good as Everton have been proven.
yeah, and again, I just can't get past like how Grealish is out, and I think that's just going to have a big impact on Everton. Newcastle will probably just do enough to beat them. They're not stand out this season that they have been the last few seasons. Multimedia hasn't been doing the business.
Yeah, but have you
So
seen
that's their
Newcastle's
skill
form
set.
in their last five? They've won one and lost four in their last five. Everton have two draws and a win in that time frame with two
Hmm.
losses. Albeit, but Newcastle's form is shocking. A lot of
Hmm.
Newcastle fans seem to want Eddie Howe out.
I think that was stupid.
I
No,
think it's stupid.
I would take him in a heartbeat at United. So no, I would be too quick to drop him. But um, yeah, I think
Yeah,
Anthony Gordon probably be the pick there, or Murphy.
Bruno Guimaraes for me.
He's kind of was he kind of drop, or was he injured the past couple of weeks or something, or is he kind of went off the
Yeah,
boil?
I like him. I'd be going for him. The problem with the Newcastle wing system at the moment is like, is it Gordon? Is it Murphy? Is it
Hmm.
Alanga?
Yeah.
Is it?
Mhm.
On the Everton side, it's James Tarkowski, it's James Garner. It's the two Jameses. It's the season of the Jameses at Everton. James Garner,
Harvey
James
Barnes as
Tarkowski are the
well.
two standout players.
Hmm.
I think actually with the way these two teams play, Malik Thea and James Tarkowski are two players actually worth picking because they're going to get a lot of aerial ball again and a lot
Yeah.
of balls delivered into the box on both sides. So Malik Thea and James Tarkowski are probably good options to look at from a
Hmm.
DEFCON or a defensive action contribution standpoint. Hard
Yeah.
game to judge. I think Newcastle are just going to shade it, but I'm actually, the more I'm looking at it, the more the defenders are the standouts because that's just going to be quick ball kind of game of football.
Yeah.
Tierno Barry all 6'5" of him up front against you know Malik Thea and Dan Byrne versus Woltemade up against James Tarkowski on the other side and Lewis O'Brien.
Mm.
It screams ball into
Yeah.
box, whippy ball, lots of aerial duels, lots of defensive action points. Yeah,
Yeah.
James Tarkowski and Malik Thea are going to be my two picks on this one.
Yeah. I'm gonna go with I think Tonali. He's kind of in a bit of form at the moment, and also I think Harvey Barnes. Um, two decent form players. And if I had to pick an Everton one, I'd probably maybe stay away from Tarkowski. He got a yellow card against United the other day. He was very hot headed in a lot of those throw ins and corners going into the box. Um, I think Pickford could be busy, and although he will concede, in Stetter you get a lot more points if you're making a lot of saves, even if you do concede. I'll go with Pickford just for the crack. Um, yeah, Pickford. Take it. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm happy enough with that. So we've looked at set pieces, we've looked at the game weeks. I
Mm-hmm.
think after this week, we're really into. I think we have one more game week and then international break, and then after the international break,
It's
then
actually a
it's
relevant international break for us this time.
like
Very exciting international break as an
thank
Irish,
God.
as an Ireland man.
One, I'll tell you this before we bounce. One of the boys on the team I'm involved in, he has the hotel and tickets for Dublin for the playoff final. Let's say. But
Mm,
the thing is, if Ireland lose the first game, it's for like a friendly match versus the other team that loses in the other game. It's like if it's that game, I'm getting rid. I'm because he's free cancellation on the hotel. He's like, I'll
yeah,
just get rid of the shank the ticket. Fuck that. But if it's final, he's going missing for a few days.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but yeah, look, everything we've talked about, I'm going to get an article up on StatrCast.com. I do my regular lives over on TikTok. Lovely little community we're building over there. We will have more news on the app in due course. It is there, obviously, on the App Store and Play Store now. To put it kindly, there's a few bugs there, but this is why we're doing closed beta testing with the boys so that we can bring you the best product possible for the start of next season. But you may or may not get a few weeks of gameplay this season, and that's okay. So I suppose from Dean, I think we're good for today.
Yeah,
Yeah,
all good.
cool. On that note, peace out, good luck, good night, goodbye, and I suppose go fuck yourself, Dean. Dean's going to win the league. Woo!